Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Siti Sasmita Umar, NIM H0119514. I'm English Education Class C in 2019 and now I'm 5th semester. Okay, here I will review the ESP material and what I have learned from ESP lessons for the past few weeks. And this is the mid test for the specific purpose English course that is powered by the lecturer Mr. Adi Isma, SPD MPD. So, ESP is ESP or English for special purpose in an approach in the teaching and use of English for special fields and studies that are in accordance with the needs of the field of science and professionals that use the English language. There are several material studies during this course among them. Okay, now I want to start it, explain the material. The first material is about the origin of ESP. So, the origin of ESP, like most human development, is not a planned and composed movement, but a feeling that grew out of a number of convergent trends. After the end of the Second World War in 1945, marked an era of great and unprecedented exploitation in the nature of technical and economic activities on an international scale. This export was a unified world and dominated by power and technology. The origin of ESP are made up of three main reasons. The first reason, the domain of the world challenge. The domain of the new world challenge that occurred because of the exchange of goods and services after the World War. The second reason, change in linguistics. The change in linguistics is that traditionally the aim of linguistics is to describe the rule of using English, namely grammar. The third reason, focus on learning. The focus on learning is that students have different needs and ability which will have an important effect on their motivation to learn a language and its effectiveness. Okay, next, the second material. The second material is about the development of ESP. In the 1960s, ESP has gone through three main paths and now paths 4 and 5 have begun to develop. The first path is register analysis to products and syllabus that prioritize the form of language that will be encountered. The second rhetorical or discourse analysis focus on the sentence level. The third development of ESP is target situation analysis, the study of needs in communication, functional, structure, and etc. The fourth path of the development of ESP is the control approach skill, which is an interpretive strategy that dominates and allows the student to successfully deal with surface form. And finally, the learn contract approach at this stage is based on an understanding of the language learning process. Next, the third material of ESP is about the language description or describing language. There are 6 main stages of language development. For the first, classical or traditional grammar, that is the description of English and other language is based on the grammar of classical Greek and Latin. Every word in a language sentence is explained in this way because classical language is a basic language where the language function of each word which changes according to the subject. The second is structural linguistics. That is, in the description of the language structure, it is described in the form of a systematic structure that carries the basic proposition, statements, integrative, negative, interpretive, and etc. The third is generative transformation grammar. Namely, Kamsky said that these problems arise because language is being analyzed and is not described separately from touch and views that produce different point of view. The fourth, language variation and analysis, namely saying language as part of the overall communication. It is clear that language users saw considerable variation in all aspects of communication. It is clear that their use of language consists of a number of factors that depend on a strong concept. The five, functional or national grammar. The functional view of language began to have an influence on language teaching in the 1950s. As in large part as a result of the effort of the Council of Europe to establish some kind of equivalence in the syllabus for the study of variation language. And the sixth is discourse analysis or rhetoric. Discourse analysis is a logical development of the view or national language which show that meaning is more than just word in sentence. Okay, next, furthermore, the material of theory about learning theories. The development of learning theories has followed a similar pattern to that of language description, and each has a different effect. But if one wants to see the importance of each for language teaching, it is best to consider the theories relating language and learning separately. There are several stages of language development in theories of learning. The first is behaviorism, namely learning as a habit information. The second is mentalism, is thinking as a set of rules. The third, cognitive code, students as thinking creatures. The fourth, affective factor, students as emotional being. The fifth, learning and acquisition, namely learning is seen as a conscious process while acquisition takes place unconsciously. Okay, next. The next material is need analysis. What distinguishes ESP from general is not only such need but awareness or needs. Need analysis is a need that is carried out to answer the accuracy and suitability of the learning work with the curriculum and situations in which the English language will be in motion. For example, if ESP is carved out in university in certain faculty and department or student program. Needs analysis methods are carried out through questionnaires, interviewers, observation, and authentic. Course design is one of the needs of the target. Maybe reading the text in a certain subject. E. Learning needs, using our ESP course analogy as an expression. What we have done is considered the starting point in bracket of deficiency and purpose. And B. Analysis learning need. The system for me by learning needs, and we need to following the needs of students. Okay, now the last material. The last material is approach to course design. Course design is the process by which raw data about learning needs are interpreted to produce an integrated set of teaching and learning expression whose main purpose is to bring the learner to a particular state of knowledge. Number 1. Language-centered course design is the simple and most familiar type of spatial design process for English teacher. Number 2 is skill-centered course design. The skill-centered approach of ESP has been widely applied in a number of countries, especially in Latin America. There are based on two basic participles. A. Hypothesis of basic theory, and B. Pragmatic basic. Number 3. A learning countered approach. As teacher, we can influence what we teach, but what students learn is determined by the student themselves. Okay, I think just it for these are some review about ESP material, and thank you very much for your attention. I'm Siti Sasmita Umar. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.